They walked into the courtroom as strangers. Two people who once stood before friends and family promising forever, now sitting opposite each other, divided by silence, paperwork, and years of misunderstandings. The judge didn't need to say much. The signatures had already begun replacing the vows. But what if it didn't have to end this way? Every day, courtrooms witness not just legal battles, but emotional implosions. And behind the legal jargon and cold facts lies something raw, something human. This story isn't just about one divorce. It's a reflection of thousands of relationships that fall apart silently before the final bang of the gavel. The couple in this case had been married for 11 years. On the surface, everything seemed stable. A house, 2 kids, decent jobs, holidays, smiles for the camera. But beneath it, resentment quietly grew roots. Small, unspoken hurts piled up. She felt unheard. He felt unappreciated. They stopped asking, "How are you?" and started assuming they already knew. In the courtroom, the lawyers did the talking. She wiped a tear while signing the custody papers. He looked down, pretending not to notice. They weren't angry anymore, just exhausted, worn out by years of talking past each other, defending their egos, and hiding their wounds. So here's the uncomfortable question. Could this divorce have been avoided? What if they had spoken openly before it was too late? What if the late night scrolling and silent dinners had been replaced with honest conversations? What if one of them had paused long enough to ask, "What are we becoming?" Many relationships don't fall apart from one big betrayal. They die slowly, from neglect, from silence, from assuming tomorrow will fix what today keeps breaking. You see, the courtroom doesn't kill marriages. It just documents the death. And maybe you're watching this because you're curious. Or maybe you're in a relationship that feels like it's drifting. If so, lean in. Because the lessons from this courtroom go far beyond legal proceedings. The truth is, so many separations could have been prevented not with therapy or money or even compromise, but with presence, with the courage to truly see each other, to stop treating your partner like furniture in your life and start seeing them again as the human you once chose. This story isn't just about them. It's about you, about what you can do now, before silence becomes permanent. If you find this message resonates with you, consider subscribing to our channel. We explore the hidden patterns behind everyday experiences, truths that can shift how you see yourself, your relationships, and your life. Every video is designed to wake you up, gently but honestly. Because sometimes the wake-up call comes not from a judge, but from within. Now, let's continue unraveling what really happened. And what could have changed everything? What could have changed everything? Let's go back, years before they stepped into the courtroom. There was a moment, early in their marriage, when they used to laugh over burnt toast, when forgetting an anniversary meant a spontaneous midnight ice cream run, when mistakes were forgivable and effort was enough. But as the years passed, something subtle shifted. Laughter became polite. Conversations became logistical. Intimacy turned into routine. It didn't happen overnight. That's the thing. Disconnection creeps in quietly. You don't notice the distance until one day, the silence between you feels louder than the words ever did. In a counseling session they tried once, the therapist asked them a simple question. When did you stop being curious about each other? Neither of them had an answer, because they hadn't even realized they had. Curiosity is the lifeblood of connection. Not just the surface-level kind, but the deep wondering, the kind that asks, "What's been on your mind lately?" Or, "What are you afraid to say out loud?" They used to ask those questions, Then they stopped. Life got busy. Kids came. Careers demanded more. Exhaustion replaced excitement. And little by little, they became roommates sharing a schedule instead of partners sharing a life. One of the biggest myths in relationships is that love alone will carry you, but love doesn't survive without effort, without intention, without daily choices to lean in instead of pulling away. She used to write him notes in his lunch bag. He used to call her in the middle of the day just to hear her voice. Neither of them remembered the last time they did those things, but they both remembered how it used to feel. And here's where it gets real. Most people don't realize they're losing their relationship until it's already gone. It's not that they didn't care, it's that they stopped showing it in the way the other person could feel. In court, the judge read the file with clinical detachment. But behind every line of legal language was a story of things unsaid. He had grown quiet. She had grown cold. Both blamed the other. Neither took responsibility for the space between them. But that space wasn't empty. It was filled with chances, missed ones. A chance to ask, "Are we okay?" A chance to say, "I miss how we used to be." A chance to admit, "I'm scared we're losing something important." And this is the message no one wants to hear, but needs to. Most relationships don't die because of conflict. They die because of avoidance. Avoiding the hard talks, avoiding the feelings, avoiding the responsibility of keeping love alive when life tries to smother it. This couple didn't fall out of love. They fell out of attention. And the courtroom just made it official. The question is, how many people are walking down that same path right now without realizing it? Keep watching, because what comes next may be the most important turning point of all. The most important turning point wasn't a dramatic fight or some explosive betrayal. It was the moment they stopped fighting for each other. They still argued, of course, but not in a way that built anything. Their fights became defensive routines, patterns, scripts. She'd say, "You never listen." He'd reply, "You're always criticizing me." And on it went, round and round, until both of them just stopped trying. Not because they didn't care, but because it always ended the same. But deep down, both of them were craving the same thing: to be seen, to be heard, to feel safe. That's what most people miss. Underneath every complaint in a relationship is a longing to connect, a longing to matter. When she said, "You never help around the house," what she really meant was, "I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to ask for help." When he said, "You don't appreciate me," what he really meant was, "I'm doing my best, and I feel invisible." If only they had translated the words instead of reacting to them. You see, emotional literacy isn't taught in schools. Most people grow up learning how to win arguments, not how to understand pain. So, when conflict arises, they armor up. They protect instead of connect. And over time, the walls grow higher than the love. But here's something the courtroom can't teach. Love doesn't disappear. It just hides behind layers of fear, resentment, and unspoken needs. In one of their final private conversations, before the papers were signed, he looked at her and said, "I don't even know when we stop being us." She didn't reply, not because she didn't feel something, but because the answer hurt too much to say. They both felt the weight of what was lost, not just the relationship, but the potential of what it could have been. So why didn't they stop it? Why didn't they reach out sooner? Sometimes people get so deep into disconnection that turning back feels impossible. Pride gets in the way. Fear whispers, "It's too late," and ego tells you, "Why should you be the one to fix it?" But here's the truth. Someone has to go first. Someone has to soften. to speak without blame, to listen without defense. Not because they're weak, but because they're brave enough to want something better. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Because every day you wait to fix what's broken is another step toward losing something you may never get back. The saddest part? They didn't want a divorce. They just didn't know how to turn things around. And maybe that's where you come in. Maybe this story isn't just a reflection. It's a mirror, showing you where you've been or where you're headed. And if there's even one person you care about, someone worth fighting for, maybe this is the sign you've been waiting for. Stay with us, because in the final part, we're going to unpack the one powerful truth that could have changed everything, and still can. The one powerful truth that could have changed everything was this: love isn't a feeling you chase, it's a skill you practice. Too many people wait to feel love again before they act loving. But the truth is, feelings follow actions. Connection follows courage. And healing begins the moment one person decides to show up differently. What if he had stopped trying to be right and tried instead to understand? What if she had let her guard down just long enough to say, "I miss us"? What if they had both remembered that the person across from them wasn't the enemy, but someone who once held their whole heart? Sometimes the smallest act can shift everything. A pause before reacting, a hand reaching out in silence, a conversation that begins with, "I don't want to lose you." But they didn't know that. They thought love had vanished. In reality, it had just stopped being fed. That's what the courtroom couldn't capture. Behind the paperwork, the negotiations, the custody schedules, there was still a fragile hope. They just didn't know how to voice it. And by the time they realized what they were losing, it had already been boxed into legal terms. After the hearing, they left the building separately. No final words, just the sound of two people who once dreamed together, now walking in opposite directions. But if you're watching this, you still have time. You're not sitting in a courtroom. You're sitting in a moment where you get to choose presence over pride, connection over control, and truth over comfort. If you're in a relationship that feels distant, don't wait for a breaking point to start talking. Start now. Start messy. Say what you're afraid to say. Listen like it's the last time you'll hear them. Ask, "How can I love you better?" Because the truth is, most relationships don't need fixing. They need feeling. They need honesty, vulnerability. They need two people willing to drop the mask and say, "I still want us." And even if the relationship doesn't last, let it not be because you didn't try. Let it not be because you stayed silent when your heart was screaming to speak. To you, the viewer, here's the message you may not hear enough. You are capable of deeper love than you've ever known. But it starts with awareness. It starts with showing up differently, even if the other person hasn't yet. Thank you for being here. If this video touched something in you, consider subscribing to our channel. We create daily content like this to help you see life, your life, with more clarity, depth, and courage. Let today be the day you stop sleepwalking through love. Let today be the day you choose to be awake in your relationships. Because sometimes the most powerful act of love is simply choosing to stay. And if even one person hears that, this story was worth telling.